Okay, so let's start. Okay, good morning all. Am I audible? Okay, so we were seeing the unified process model, or more specifically, the rational unified process in the last class, right? So we have seen the inception phase and the elaboration phase in detail, right? So this was inception phase, where after the requirement analysis, team gathering happens, whatever the user's requirement are there and whatever the analysis part needs to be done, like making small use cases, all these things are done in the inception phase. Okay, cost planning, how much cost is projected, what will be the initial project budget, everything is assessed here. And what are the outcomes, what you want to achieve from this inception phase? Firstly, the initial use case models, okay, of your system, small use case models. Then the project glossary, what are all the things that are you use that you are going to use in your project. Just you should have a glossary of that or a meaning of that or at one place. Your business cases, initial project plan, and risk assessment. Okay, risk assessment has to be done in all the phases. Then these are your milestones that everyone should agree on the requirement analysis which has been done. The primary use cases should be created and everyone should be okay with that also. Your cost and schedule estimates, whatever you have estimated that this should be my project cost and this should be my project estimate, everyone should be agreeing on that, and also it should be legible and credible. It should not that you have asked you have promised the user that the project will take 50,000 and then in the boardroom meeting you the final after the project analysis you decided that the project cost will increase by 10,000. It should not happen in the initial phases. Okay, else the project may fail or you have to cancel it and restart the whole cycle again. Okay, then there is your elaboration phase. Okay, in the elaboration phase there is analysis and the design part. Okay, means whatever hardware, software, etc., the architecture that you are going to use for your system, that should be designed. The main UML model should be designed in this phase. Okay, this we have seen in the last class. This we have also seen. Okay, now you are trying to create almost a complete use case model. See, in your UML models, the use case models, you can say they form the very basic part of all other models also. Why? Because after this requirement analysis is done, after the all the requirements from the users is created, that the user want all these things in his project. Suppose the developer says I need these hardware in my project, I need these softwares in my project. So requirement analysis is not only with respect to the user, that what user wants. Requirement analysis also means what the developer wants, what the operations team wants, what the business team wants. मतलब सबकी इच्छा पूरी होनी चाहिए. That is requirement analysis. Requirement doesn't mean only the user requirement, it means सबकी requirement to make that project happen. So all these requirement analysis, based on that requirement analysis, you can create some small use cases. And then use cases, what use cases are today we will start with the use cases. We will see what is basically a use case diagram. So use case diagram is basically a, you can say, overall very basic understanding of your system. You are not, suppose you are designing a very complex software system. So in the UML, you will not design the very nitties and gritties of your software. You will just show a very basic overview of your software. You will make some use cases in the elliptical circles, and you will write there that okay, this module is suppose sending the signal. So you will just write in the circle, elliptical circle, that this is sending the signal. How it is exactly sending the signal, we are not concerned in the use case models. We are just showing a very overall basic structure of your whole system, very abstract, very abstract. Okay, now after this abstract view or this use case diagram is created, this diagram can be used by all other models. The class diagram can also use that, the object diagram can also use that. Okay, the activity diagram can use that, the collaboration diagram can use that. The component diagram can use that, deployment diagram can use that, all other diagrams can use these use cases, right? Okay, so these things are done in the elaboration phase. Elaboration phase is your analysis and design part. Means main architecture of a system is designed in this phase. Okay, and initial preliminary user manual is also created. When will the final user manual be created? If you are getting a product, suppose you have ordered a new mobile phone, so you get a user manual with the mobile phone. When do you think this user manual would have been created? In which process of the mobile manufacturing? Tell me. After the testing process, then after the testing process, who will create that user manual? Because user manual is a very technical thing, right? That the buttons are here, the system works like this, the software works like this. User manual is a very technical thing regarding the overall aspects of your product, sorry. That overall the mobile phone contains these many buttons, touch screen is here, that update option is here. It is a very technical thing, right? So after the testing, who will then create this preliminary user manual, sorry, not preliminary user manual, final user manual. Preliminary user manual is created in this design phase only. Yeah. Tester is not concerned with the user manual. If you think logically, what a tester has to do to tell regarding what a project is, all the features the project have. Okay, suppose you are having a mobile phone user manual. In that user manual, what is written? The warranty, leave about the warranty. The main technical aspects of your product, how to use your product, is written there. So there is no role of tester also here, if you think like that. It's very simple, right? Whoever is creating that product, the actual creator of that product can only tell you what the actual work or the actual operations or the actual features of that product are, right? For example, if a developer is writing a code, in the developing phase only all the software and hardware components of the mobile phone will be completed, right? The developers will write the Android code for the phone, and the hardware will be manufactured and set up in this developing phase only. So only these two persons knows, right? That what are the hardwares used in your system and what are the softwares used in your system and how they are working exactly. So only these persons can give you the exact user manual. So in real life, on paper also, the exact user manual, we will see that that gets manufactured in this developer phase, right? Because the developer only knows that how the software or hardware exactly works, right? So these are the milestones which we assume from the elaboration phase. Okay, that whatever elaboration phase is what? Analysis and design part, main design part. You have to set up that, okay, I'm going to need these kind of hardware and softwares in my project. Right now the project is not started to build. The developer come into action right now. Only we are designing, or we are modeling everything out, that I need these hardware, these software, and all those stuff. So first you have to be very sure this will this architecture be very stable or not. Okay, what are the risks based on your past experiences also, and what are the risks that can come while making, suppose, this phone. Okay, whatever plan you have, this is basically a timetable kind of situation right now you are in. Before actually executing the product or the software, you are creating a timetable kind of thing in which you are writing everything from your sleeping to studying time. You are writing everything. So is it detailed plan, will it work or not, you have to analyze in this elaboration phase only. Okay, and every stakeholders means all the parties involved in making that project, developers, project managers, even the users, they are also known as stakeholders. Okay, so this we have seen in the last class. I'm just giving you a revision. We have seen now till this point, I think we have seen in the last class elaboration phase. So Now the third phase is the construction phase. Construction phase is purely your implementation or the coding or the developing phase, you can say. Now the actual product is created here. For example, suppose you are creating this car. So you have to manufacture a car. So in the initial, all the phases, you are just creating use cases for this car. That here will be the user and here will be the steering wheel. It will turn left, it will turn right, here will be the brakes. So you are just defining the use cases. In the construction phase, the actual whole car will be created. Okay, all features considered, developed. Whatever you have analyzed till now, that has to come into action or real life. Okay, testing will also be in every phase. Testing is in all the phases. But if you see here, there is a picture of bug here. Okay, before this phase, mainly the testing revolves around the risk analysis. Because if the original product is not created, how can you test for the bugs in your project? Or how can you test for the bugs in your code? Bugs can come in code only, right? While manufacturing the software of a system. So before this phase, whatever testing, when I say, because RUP is a circular model, you have seen the testing graph in all these are little bit in the testing phase, it is a bit higher, but it is there in all the phases of the RUP model. So in all these phases, the actual testing, by testing I mean that risk analysis should be done. If you have created this kind of system in the past and these kind of errors came, then you should be ready with these to solve the same errors if they occur. So that is your construction phase. Okay, all the use cases which you have tried on paper right now, they must be realized with traceability information. Traceability information means if we have said that there is a, in the use case, if we have said that there was a user and he suppose pressed the clutch, then gear was changed. Okay, change gear. If you design something like this, then you have to see that this is traceable back to its original position. Whatever you have said here, it should happen. Okay, then whatever softwares you have created, the complete, I have told you earlier na, between the developer and the tester, there is a bug cycle that happens. Bug cycle is not in your syllabus. You might have read in software engineering, or this is possible that you might even not have read that, because it is not uh, you can say of that importance. But there is a bug cycle. You have read this in software engineering, between a developer and a tester, the bug cycle, that format that goes. Yes or no? Okay, no issue. So bug cycle simply means, suppose your developer written a code. Okay, he will send the code to the tester. So the tester will analyze that code, and if any bugs come, he will send the code again back to developer. Then again the developer will modify the code and he will send it the code back. So that is a bug cycle, and this cycle will continue till all the bugs are resolved, and after that only the project will be deployed to the user. That is only a bug cycle in simple way. Okay, now see here, the final user manual will be created in this construction phase, because only the developer knows that how your software actually works. Got it? Yeah. Now what are the milestones that you, milestones means what are the final goal that you want to achieve with this construction phase, that after the project, because now the project has come into existence, the project has been designed, fully implemented, not only designed, it is implemented, you have the project in your hand. So you have to see that the project should be stable when it is given to the user. It should not crash. If you have designed a game, suppose, it should not crash. It should perform as per the expectation, as per the initial expectation and the requirement analysis. Okay, the stakeholders means everyone should be ready that now the project can be deployed to the user. They should not fear that, okay, there is a 50% chance that product will work, there is a 50% chance that product will not work. It should not happen like this. After the developing phase, you explicitly want that the project should be very stable. Okay, whatever the actual expenditures you have planned, and whatever the expenditures that you have planned, and what are the expenditures that has actually occurred, they should be more or less similar. It should not that your budget initially was 50,000 and now you have made the project for 1 lakh. This should not happen, which generally happens with government projects, right? If you give a road project for 50,000, it will take for 1 year, it will increase to 2 to 3 years, and then the budget also increases. Okay, so there should be no corruption basically in your system. And if these milestones are not reached, then what will happen? Keep on doing the developing. The transition will not happen. It will transition means in the next phase the project will not go. Okay, the project will not be deployed, and it will be revolving in the bug cycle only between the developers and the testers. And that is a very important phase of a project. Got it? Now the final phase, that is the transition phase. So as the name suggests, transition phase means now the project is completed. There are no bugs as per the developer and the testers. The product can be used by the user, and you have also take the outcomes or the learnings from this, because where you will use these learnings. If suppose I made this project and I learned something from this, now where I will use this in my next project, to do what? Yeah, in the new project, exactly where you will use these learnings, exactly to do what in a new project. Yeah, yes, for the risk analysis. The risk analysis or the initial testing that we are doing in all the phases in a new project. These lessons helps there. For example, suppose you have created this software for a, say, Samsung phone, Samsung mobile phone. Samsung gave you the order to create a software for them. Now the next time, suppose Nokia gave you the order to create the software. So you will be following the same sequence or same steps, but now you have some lessons or some memory with you, that when I was trying to do this thing, this kind of error came. So I will be very cautious, at least with these kind of risks. So this helps in the risk analysis part basically in the new project. Okay, and for 45 students are present here, so just inform every student that all your attendance actually is automatically updated on your SAP portal. Okay, from the here only. So it is automatically updated on the SAP portal. So if your attendance falls within 75% in the online classes, I cannot help you later. Okay, just try to at least keep 75%. Got it? So yeah, just inform the students who are not attending. If you have some network issues, you connect to the class and it just gets disconnected. Okay, I might consider that case later. But if you are not even joining the class and hoping that everything will go smoothly, it will not be like that. Okay, so just what is the attendance in? Is there any explicit person who is not coming in all the classes, or it's just randomly people are, some people misses? Are there some students who are random? Okay, just inform once. Okay, just inform everyone once. You have compiled design subject also this time. And what are the subjects you have? Graphics. I think one should be a graphics subject. Android. Yeah. And that's it. Business management. Okay. So I think yeah, this is one of the easiest subject OAD in this semester. Which subject you are finding tough? I think graphics you should find tough. I've always found graphics to be tough. Yeah, it is. Compiler design is easy. You can do that. For the compiler design, only one thing you have to do, you have to be live in your class. Who is teaching compiler design? Abjeet sir. Okay, fine. So we have seen the transition phase. Now the project is completed, project is in use, and what are the lessons we've learned? See, these things you can write in your own words also. I'm just giving you this in detail so that you can have some words to write, right? So what are the milestones that you finally want to achieve? That is the end user satisfied or not? Okay, otherwise he will keep on sending the product to for in the warranty period to you back or writing you the mails. So you will be very dissatisfied if the user is dissatisfied. So you have to make sure that the user is satisfied with the product. Your product is working, right? And the next important thing that because what matters in the product project the most or in any product the most is the money. Money part is very important. Okay. So whatever you have planned initially, suppose you have planned initially 50,000 and the product took 80,000. So you have to keep this thing in mind that why this 30,000 gap is there. Could this gap been reduced earlier by using some measures, or no matter what you did, the project cost would have come to be 80,000 only. So you have to do all these analysis part. And if you have finally came to the conclusion that okay, this kind of product to make this kind of software for the mobile phone, 80,000 is the budget that is needed every time. So what you will do in the next time, when the next time someone gives you the product, you will start with 80,000 budget. That's our last time we created the product. The budget came out to be 80,000. So this is the minimum requirement that we need. So you have to do all these expenditure measures also. Okay. So this was all about the RUP phases. Okay. Nothing very complex. It's very simple. As the name suggests, right? What does this mean? Everything revolves because all these are this is a type of software development lifecycle only. Okay. So whatever you understand by SDLC, you can use the same concepts here. Just two things are important. First, that cyclic representation, and next the graph that you have to show. Okay. And these four words: inception phase, elaboration phase, construction phase, and transition phase. These words are important. Inside what you are writing is very similar to the SDLC process. Okay. So if someone asks you what are the key features of RUP, RUP is a question which will be asked either in the assignment, test, mid-sem, and sem. Okay. It will be asked somewhere or the other. So what are the key features of REP? Firstly, it is a software process model, as we have seen. It is the SDLC process model. So what does SDLC process model tells? What will be the order in which the phases will go on? There will be requirement analysis, then there will be design, then there will be coding, then testing. So it tells you that it will be in the form of XYZ or it will be in the form of YZX, anything. Okay. It also tells you the transition criteria. For example, if you are in the testing phase, then when can you go to the deployment phase? You can only go to the deployment phase when there is no error. So it tells you the transition criteria of moving from one phase to another. Okay, another feature of RUP can be it is component based. Means what are all these phases? All these phases are nothing but a part of your software. Requirement analysis is a part of your software where you are creating use cases. The design part is the software module of your software where you are creating the architectures. Implementation is the part of your software where you are actually coding. Okay, so this is a model or this is a components based model where all the software components are joined together. Well defined interfaces is nothing. You are just clearly explaining what each phases works. Apart from that, you can see the key features of RUP can be it can be modeled using UML also. the thing that you are trying to do can be modeled using a UML diagram, right? Another aspect can be use case driven, architecture centric, or iterative and incremental. What does this mean? See, if you are trying to if you're trying to create a software, there are three ways in which you can proceed in the SDLC cycle. There are three ways in which exactly you can focus on your software. First, the use case driven means whatever you are trying to do in your software, that will be user centric. Whatever the main requirement of user, that requirement will be focused. For example, suppose a user has said that I need this architecture, I need this software and hardware combination. The user said I need this hardware and software combination. So suppose the user said that I need the Intel processor with the RTX graphic card. Okay, the user said this. Now, no matter what, doesn't matter whether these two Intel and RTX are compatible or not, doesn't matter. You have to create the software as per the user requirement. Definitely there will be discussions that okay sir, this is happening, this is not happening, but finally the user will be the main central focus of your RUP model or any software which you are trying to create. So that is use case driven. Okay, here by use case I doesn't mean the only use case diagram. Here by use case I mean the user will be the central focus point. Then there is architecture centric. Means okay, user has said that he want Intel with RTX, but if they are not compatible enough, so I will replace Intel with AMD. Definitely the user will be informed, but my main focus should be that software should be very stable. Thus hardware and software I'm using inside the system, that should be stable. For this, if I have to replace some of the user requirements which the user has asked me, I have to do that definitely after informing the user. If you can't do that, you will cancel the project, as simple as that. Okay, so that is architecture centric. Third is iterative and incremental. That okay, we will do one step, then we will see. We will try to see both of these things, whether we are able to meet user requirements or not, and whether the system is stable or not. Then we will proceed to the next step, and the next step, the next step, the next step. Like this, we will keep on processing. So, what do you think? Which is a better thing to do? What could be the better thing to do? Tell me. Anything you can. Any idea? Just take a guess. What do you think in these three will work better? Okay, see, first thing, it depends on the what kind of software you are making. Okay, if your software is something which can be handled with this easily, you will do this. Okay, because this might take some more time. Here, more asking the user and testing and all these are happening. Okay, so it depends on the software you are trying to make. But in the general case, the iterative and incremental part is better because here you are trying to take the moods or take the views of users and also the system or the architecture point of view. Okay, so this was all about RUP. Any doubts? Be responsive in the class, otherwise I will randomly ask from the attendant person, whoever is attending the class, anything in between. And if you have just logged in and went to sleep, I will mark you absent. So just be responsive. Okay, fine, got it, everyone. Okay, any doubts? So now we will start with use case diagram. Okay, so now we will start with our first kind of diagram, that is the use case diagram. This use case which we have been seeing repeatedly right now, that after the requirement analysis, some use cases are prepared. Then these use cases are used in all other models also. Okay, so what is this? Basically a use case model. If someone asks you what is requirement engineering, this is your asynchronous lecture, but let me tell you very briefly what is requirement engineering, and if you just write this only in this, it will work. See, requirement analysis, what do you understand by requirement analysis? If you, I asked you just now, what do you think is a requirement analysis? You know the answer already. You don't know the answer? Are you know the answer? I'm telling you. We have been, for what you are writing no? For the doubts you are writing no, or for you don't know requirement analysis? What user want can be requirement analysis. Okay, yes. Only users requirement. Finding what user requirements, creating SRS document, yes. Projects requirements, yes. Hardware and software requirements. See, requirement analysis and design. This is a very common word that is used. Requirement analysis and design. So in single line, requirement analysis is the requirement of all these stakeholders. Yes, as Saurabh has written, requirement of all individuals involved in the project. So requirements of all these stakeholders. Firstly, you will take the requirements from the users. What the user want, जो उसको बोलना है बोल लेने दो. Let's take his viewpoint. All the requirements. Let's take all the requirements from the user. Then the project manager will create a team meeting, and in the boardroom, the developer will be sitting, the tester will be sitting, the operations team will be sitting, the business analyst will be sitting, everyone will be sitting, and some guy will be giving the presentation that the user has asked us these things. So are we capable enough to match these things? Can these things be achieved or not? So the developer will give some viewpoint that okay, this can be achieved, but I need this software to work or to create this project. The tester will say, okay, I need these things. The operations team will say that I need these servers. So all the requirements for everyone will be captured in the requirement analysis phase. And now with this requirement analysis phase, some use cases will be created, some use case diagrams will be created. Use case diagrams are nothing but it's just like your, suppose you have participated in a coding competition, so they give you some test cases to check whether your whole project is running or not. Okay, some small test cases, they give you 10 to 15 test cases, suppose. So it is possible that suppose your program runs on the 7 test cases but doesn't runs on the other also. It is possible that your program runs on all the 15 cases, but your program may be wrong. For some other test case, it might fail. That is also a chance. So these test cases, small checks and balances that you are doing, that is nothing but use case models. Here you are trying to create a very overall picture that how the overall system should look like. Okay, and these use case models then can be given to all other models for their use. Okay, so this is very basic use case models. If in a use case model, if you're trying to create a use case model and you are using 20-30 use cases, then there is something wrong with your model. It should not be that complex. This is the simplest model that should represent your overall system in a one line. It should be the simplest model that should show what your system is doing without showing the complex part of your system. For example, if you're trying to create a mobile phone, so a very simple use case should be designed. Like, this is my whole system. I told na B1 guys in the lab yesterday that this box is a system. B2 I will show tomorrow. So what is the system? This is your actual mobile phone in which there will be part. There will be calling use case. There will be game use case. There will be say messaging use case. So user should be able to interact with these use cases. So what does this showing? That there is a user who is able to make a call, who is able to play games, who is able to message in this mobile system. But this doesn't showing you the complex part, that how actually this call is happening, how this messaging system is working. So you can say, what you can say in the object oriented concept, what is this called, what I'm doing here. Encapsulation, yes, you can say encapsulation. We are grouping together everything in the system, but more explicitly, what it is, this is abstraction, showing only the essential information. So this is the abstract or the abstract view of your. If you will write this in one single line, you will write that use case model shows the abstract view of your whole system, how the whole system or how the whole software will work, without exactly showing the complex parts of your program. Got it? Okay, so see here. Use cases are the descriptions of the functionality of a system from the user's perspective. Why you are trying to create these use case diagrams? As I've told you earlier, suppose there is a user who has given that I need a software that should work like this, but he doesn't know anything about the software S. He doesn't know the coding. He doesn't know any testing part. He just needs the software. So what you will do after the requirement analysis, you will create a very simple use case to show everything inside a software in a very naive term, so that users or the persons who are not technical, the non-technical use cases should be so that a non-technical person should be able to identify also. If you search on Google any use case diagram and some diagram appears in front of you and you doesn't know anything about use case, you don't know what is a use case model, then also you should be able to identify what this system is doing. Got it? So it should be that simple, a use case model. Okay, it should describe the behavior of your system, what your system is trying to do. This word is very important, behavior of the system. Okay, because we are not concerned right now how the exactly coding part is working, how the components are connected. We are not concerned how the project will be deployed or the deployment diagram. We are only concerned here that how the system should look like to me. I've given you this project to show me how the system after getting created will look like to me. I don't understand what a class is, what an object is. Don't show me a class and why we don't create object and class diagrams here. They are also simple, but they are technical, right? User will not understand. If a person doesn't know what a class and object is, you show them three rectangles having class name, functions, and attributes. Will he understand anything? No, right? But if you show the same person any use case diagram, he should be able to understand that it should be such a simple diagram. Okay. It also describes the scope of the system. Scope of the system means the limit of the system. Just like there is a scope of a function, that what is the lifeline of a function. A function will work only from this bracket till this bracket, right? You define the scope of an object, scope of a function. So similarly, you have to define the scope of a system. It should not that you have said that, okay, this is the mobile phone that you have ordered us. You can send the message to it, and after creating the mobile phone, the phone is sending the message to the space suddenly. It should not happen like this. Some alien concept shouldn't come here. You have to define the scope of the system, what the system will actually do. Okay, see this line. It illustrates the developer's understanding of the user's requirement. Finally, the developer has to code. So when after the requirement analysis, everyone meets in the team room, the developer is asked to give. The developer is asked by the project manager to create some use cases diagram. That what you have understood, the user wants. What you have understood, how you are going to code it. The show after you code how the overall system will look like. So the developer will make some use cases with the help of course, if he doesn't know UML, he will take the help of some other persons, and he will try to create some use diagrams. And these diagrams will be shown to the user by the project manager. See, our developers have understood that your project will look like this. Then the user will say, okay, yes, I have also asked for the same things. Or the user will say, no, I didn't ask for this. It should be like that. So to have a conversation with the user in this way, it is very important that first, what is important in a use case model? The simplicity in one word. It should be simple to be understood by a non-technical person, but it should also represent your whole system. It should not miss. It can miss some of the parts. For example, you cannot cover all the parts of a mobile phone in one system, right? To cover everything what a mobile phone can do, you have to create, this is the system. So you have to create a lot of use cases, right? A mobile phone can send messages, play games, make calls. All these things are there. So you cannot make 20, 30 use cases. Use cases are represented in this elliptical circle. We'll see today in detail. But if you are writing anything in this elliptical circle, that is a use case. So if you are trying to create this 20, 30 use cases here, and you are making one user here, and you are saying that, okay, he will do everything, this, there are this. So this will be a complicated system. User is not concerned with this view. Just show him very abstract view that, okay, there is message you can do, there is call you have to, and suppose the user has said that, okay, WhatsApp should work. WhatsApp should work in my system. So you will show him that, okay, there is WhatsApp here. Here is the user. You can do all these things. So user will be very happy that, okay, what I have asked, I'm able to do this. Now tell me one thing. This actor, this is known as an actor for the user, which I'm drawing here. Ek sar do pair do haath. Is this a part of a system? System is this, the software system, exact software system. Is he a part of a software system or not? Tell me. Madhur, no, sir. Yes, okay. All of this. Why is not a part of a system? How can you say that he's not a part of the system? How you are saying that he's not a part of a system? Tell me what you are thinking right now. Just tell me that. Why you have said that he's not a part of the system? Hmm? तो सोच के बोला होगा ना, it is not a part of a system. Tell me what you are thinking. It's very simple. It is on the board. Why is not a part of the system? Yes. Okay. By diagram only you can say this is your system only, and the user is outside the system. So this actor is not a part of the system. Either I make actor on the left side of the system or I make actor here. These actors are outside the system. They are just here to show how the system will work, how I'm interacting with the system. Okay, the actual software or the actual project is under this rectangular box only. That is why this rectangular box is designed. That my system is comprised of these many use cases or these many boundaries only. Okay. So what are the information that a use cases can see? Use case, when I say use case, doesn't mean that you have to draw every time. If you don't know drawing, you can write the use cases on a document part also. Use case is not something that is with UML. It is not something, it is not a very necessary condition for UML. It is a sufficient condition for UML. If you can draw a use case diagram, very good. But before UML came into existence, there were also use cases that the people used to write. But in those times, people used to write in written document, they used to write use cases that there is one actor who is interacting with the system, the output is this. Very simple documentations, but they used to write use cases. And when UML came, they saw that drawing is much easier and much appealing to the user. They started creating use case diagrams, but the concept behind them remains the same, that you have to capture the behavior of the system in a very abstract way so that the non-technical persons are also able to understand your system. Okay, so what are the informations that are captured by a use case or a use case diagram? Both these things. Firstly, what are the actors? What are the users that are interacting with your system? Where this use case diagram will come? Behavioral diagram or structural diagram? Behavioral, right? This is a behavioral diagram, right? But if you'll see in your course plan, this topic is given in the module 2. In the module 2, this is the first topic. And your module 2 is basic and advanced structural modelings. Basically, in your module 2, you have to study all these structure models, class diagram, object diagram, these things we have to study. So why do you think that in that module, this use cases diagram have been kept? Think logically. This is a behavioral diagram, right? But this has been kept in your syllabus in your 2, and module 2 is structural diagrams. Why it is created in the very beginning of module 2 before the structural diagrams? What do you think? I've told you in the very beginning of this use case diagram today only. 2-3 times I've told you. Think about it. If someone asks you a question, I am also asking you the same question. Tell me. If there has to be some correlation between them. Uh, okay. What kind of correlation? Just think in this way. This use cases diagram have been kept in the very beginning. After this, only the structural diagrams will start, class diagram, object diagrams. Then we will see other behavioral diagrams. I've told you now what you do after the requirement analysis. What you do just after requirement analysis? What you do before creating other UML diagrams? What you do? You create use case diagrams or you make use cases, right? And then these use cases can be used for other class diagrams, object diagrams, whatever, activity diagram, wherever you want to use. So that is why, because after the requirement analysis, the first thing that you are going to do is you have to create the use cases. That is why use case diagrams are kept in the very beginning of module 2. Though they are behavioral models, though there is an actor who is going to interact with the system, we have kept this with the structural diagram, and that too in the very beginning, because this is the first step how we are going to create or what we are going to do after the requirement analysis. Okay, so what are the informations captured by the use cases? All the actors that are participating in the user by actors, everything we will see in detail. What is the actor, what is the system, we will see. But for now, actor is a user who is interacting with the system, and what the relationships he is having with the use cases. Okay, there are types of relationships also. There is association, there is generalization, we will see all those. Okay, what is the relationships he's having the with the use case? Is this actor having a direct association with this use case, or he is having a generalization with this use case? All these things you have to show, or these are the information that should be either written in the use case document or that should be represented by a use case diagram. Okay, what are the preconditions before you're trying to create your project? What are the details of your project? Very abstract details, not in very complex detail. Keep one thing in mind. Use case is in itself a fully functional unit. By what I mean by this, if I write in a use case that place order in Domino's, place Domino's order, if I write just this thing in a circle, it means this is a fully functional independent unit. This doesn't need any other help from the outside. If I just write place order from the Domino's, it will place order. This has been assumed that this will place order. For this, in the background, whatever code has to be written, whatever servers have to be sent, no one is concerned. If I've said that there is an actor who is having interaction with this use case, and this use case is placing a Domino's order, then this use case will place a Domino's order. Neither the user is concerned how it will do, neither other stakeholders of the project are concerned. Only the developer is concerned with this part. Okay. What are the post conditions? These are details, post conditions, exceptions, constraints. These are optional parts. Whatever you want to show, you show. Whatever you don't want to show, you don't show. For example, you cannot show all the post conditions. What will happen after the project is in deployment phase. You cannot show everything, and you should also not show everything. Just show what the user is concerned. If the user has asked for some particular things, at least show those things. Okay. Exceptions. What are the exceptions in your project? What could be the exceptions in your project? That also you show to the user. What are the constraints while making your project? That you can also show. I am saying you can also show. Okay. Not necessarily you have to show everything. See, use case is something that is up to you, what you show. But it should be something like at least समझ में आ जाए हो क्या रहा है system में overall. Okay. Then are there any alternatives? For example, suppose the user has asked for the WhatsApp message, and for some reason you're not able to provide him this facility, then show him some other alternative. Show him that, okay sir, we can provide you the Facebook functionality at least. So all these things have to be shown in the use case diagram. Okay. Then some more things regarding your use case diagram, that this is the primary system software requirements. Means whatever the software is going to look like before getting developed. In the underdeveloped stage only, you will show all the requirements. You will try to show all the requirements. Okay. Okay, so we will continue in the next class. We have lots of time, no issues. Fine. You have class after this or lunch? Okay. Okay, so we will meet in the next class. Have a lunch. Okay. Thank you.